Hey guys, this is Matthew with another Alice 3.1 tutorial. So far we've already done the 5 tutorials in the Mars series, kind of introductory stuff, but some advanced stuff, and now we're moving into the Classroom series. Again, if you watch the Mars and the Classroom series, you should have most of the stuff you would know from a typical one semester college class in Alice 3. So far in the Classroom series, we've done opacity, having characters speak, movement, orienting cameras, and then last lesson we learned all about properties. Now we're using properties and we're moving into math. And what we're going to do is we're going to do basic addition. We're going to have the computer add two things and then compare it to what the user says. So we're also going to switch from just adding like 1 plus 3 to making random variables. And let me show you what I mean. Right now, our program is set up like this. Last time, I'm going to go to this, click on, it's already on properties, and then scroll down. Last time, we created 3 properties. Something that would hold the first number we created, something to hold a second number, and then an answer. And since then, like I didn't show you this, but I created another property, and I'm calling that one user answer. Now, I showed you how to create properties last time, but you're going to need to add this one right now. So probably pause your video and add a 4th property. Just click the add property. That's a variable, whole number, call it user property, and set the initial value to 0. So just do that really fast. So right now we have a total of 4 properties. And we've taken advantage, or we're using 2 of those properties. What we're going to do is add 2 numbers together. So actually right now if we run the program, we wait a sec, it moves forward, the fish appears, and he says hello, and then asks us a question. He says, what is 1 plus 3? And then because we don't have anything in the middle, he just goes to the last line and says, you won. So this line right here, the say what is plus number 1 plus the plus character plus number 2 and then a question mark, that's where he says what is 1 plus 3. And what's happening is we define number 1 to be equal to 1 here, number 1 is equal to 3, or num2 is equal to 3 here, and then those values just get inserted in here and here, just like in a Mad Lib. Let me show you. In a Mad Lib, you would see what is blank plus blank. That's kind of what's going on right here. He says what is blank, our first number, plus blank, our second number, and then a question mark. So what we're going to do is right here, I could have just said what's 1 plus 3 right here. But I showed you last time that what's cool about this is I can actually change the values really easy from here, where it would be a little harder right here. And what I mean is that I don't just have to have it be 2 plus 1 or 1 plus 3 or whatever. I can actually make this random. And what I mean by random is each time I run the program, the computer will choose a different random value. So let me show you how to do that. You go over to number 1, click on the value, go down to random, and the third choice here is next random integer from A up to and including B. And then I have to choose what A and B are, what those first and last values are. So I'm going to choose 1, go over to custom whole number and choose 15. And it replaces my value with some random value from 1 up to 15. So when I first run this program, it'll choose a random value, say 5. When I run it again, it'll choose a different random value, say 6. It's not necessarily 5 or 6, it just chooses different values. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this second value because I want it also to be random. So click the number, go down to random, choose the third choice, and this time go from 1 to custom whole number and we'll choose 10. So our first number is a random value from 1 to 15. Our second number is a random value from 1 to 10. And these random values get inserted into the fish's question. So he'll say what is and it chooses a random value, say 1, plus, and then it chooses another random value, say 5, equal to. So let's run that and see what happens. So we go forward, fish appears, he says hello, says you have to answer the question, and then asks what's 9 plus 5. If we restart it and run it again, we move forward, the fish appears, he says his hello, and you have to answer the question, and then it says what's 2 plus 10. So you can see each time we run it, it's going to choose different random values between 1 and 15 and 1 and 10. So now that we have these two numbers, we actually have to have the user able to answer that question. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this user answer, I'm going to drag it up under where the fish asks the question, and I'm going to drop it in. And then just choose some value. It really doesn't matter what you choose. So I'm just going to choose 0 for right now, because we're just going to replace that 0 in a sec. Now, here's the cool part. What we're going to do is we're going to fill this 0 in with what the user types in. So what you need to do is go over to functions, the functions of this, and go to get integer from user with a message. And take that and drop it in. And for right now, just do hello. That's fine. So what happens is when we run this, like we expect, it goes forward, the fish appears, he says his two questions, he asks us the question, what's 14 plus 4? And then this dialog pops up that says hello, which we specified as hello right there, and we have to enter a number. So it was 14 plus 4, so we're going to say that the answer is 28. Click OK, and he says you won. But he would say you won whether we entered the actual answer, 28, or any other answer, because we haven't actually programmed where it checks if we have the actual answer. So really fast, I'm just going to alter this. This isn't actually important. This is just for cosmetic. I'm going to alter this so that it has this kind of Mad Lib right here. What is number 1 plus number 2 question mark? So I'm just going to click, I showed you how to do this last time, and go to question plus question and say this answer plus this answer. Click it again, make it a third one, choose this user answer, click it again, make it a fourth one, choose num1, and then I have to actually scroll because it's getting too big, and then make it a fifth one and say number answer. And then I'm just going to go through and replace these with the what is num1 plus num2. So on this one, I'm going to say custom text string and type in what is, and then a space. Click OK, and now the first one is changed to what is. For this one, I'll click on it and choose number 1. The third one, I'm going to click on it and choose custom text string, do a space, a question, or a plus sign, and then another space, and click OK. That one gets replaced. For the fourth one, it's number 1, but I actually want number 2. And then for the last one, I'm going to replace it with a custom text string, which is just a space and a question mark, and click OK. So now what happens is when the dialog box pops up, it's actually going to ask us what is number 1 plus number 2 question mark. So the fish says, hello, you have to answer the questions. Then he asks us the question, what's 14 plus 6? And now this asks us the question, what is 14 plus 6? So I'm just going to answer the question, it's 22, click OK, and we're good. Now, here's the last step. There's 2 steps. One, we need to add these two numbers together, number 1 and number 2, so that the computer knows what these two values added together are. And then we need to compare if what the user said is actually equal to number 1 plus number 2. Now let me show you really fast. So over here we have our 4 properties, number 1, number 2, answer, and user answer. What we need to do is we need to actually add these two numbers together and store that in answer. And then we need to compare the answer to what the user says and see if it's the correct value. So for this one, is a fairly easy, just one line of code. For this one, for comparing, whenever you compare things, you use if statements or if-else statements. So let's go back into the program and do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into properties. I'm going to choose this answer or the set answer procedure and drag it down under where the user answers. And then I'm just going to choose number 1. Now, what I actually need to do, I'm going to go back to my Madlib. What I need to do is I need to say answer is equal to number 1 plus number 2. And this is actually really straightforward because I've already got number 1 in here. Well, let's say I didn't choose. Let's say it's just 0. So what I'm going to do is say, let's just say number 1. I click on it, and then, where is it? I need to click here. I'm not seeing it. What I need to do is this kind of addition that I have right here where it's num1 plus num2. And it should be, oh, I'm sorry, it's under math. Okay, so num1 plus num2. So do you see how I did that? I'll go back. I just had this one value. I clicked and I went math, and then I did 0 plus, and then just number 2, and then I'll just replace the 0 with the number 1. So the computer now has the answer is equal to number 1 plus number 2, and it does the addition behind the scenes. We never actually see what this says because we haven't told anyone to say this value, but the computer now knows what number 1 plus number 2 is equal to. And now that it knows, we can compare the user answer with the actual answer. So to do that, you go down to the bottom and drag up an if statement and make sure it's above the blue tang saying you won, because we want to check that they actually got it correct before we say that they won. So choose either true or false. We're going to replace it. It doesn't matter. Okay. Now, what we need to do is we need to check that user answer is indeed equal to the actual answer. So click on this, go down to whole number, and see how there's this equal thing? So we want to check that one is equal to the other. So choose this answer, and for the second one, choose user answer. So what this is checking is the answer that the computer gets equal to the answer that the user gets, the user answer. Now, if it's true, execute whatever code is here. Otherwise, execute whatever code is here. So what we're going to do is if the user answers correctly and the computer verifies that the answer is correct, right here, we'll have the blue fish say, good job, you got it correct. Right here, we're going to put the blue fish saying, you got it wrong. Nice try. So click over here, go down to the blue tang, and click on procedures. And then have it drag over the say, and have him say a custom text string, good job, you got it right. And maybe an exclamation point because he's so proud that the student got it right. And then we're going to drag in another stay for the if it gets it wrong and say, sorry, that isn't correct. Okay, so now we've got our two values, they're random values. We've got our fish asking us the question, the teacher fish asked the question, then we have the user typing in an answer, then we calculate what the answer is from number 1 and number 2, and then we compare if that answer is actually correct. Now let's check our code and see that everything works. So we're running it, the fish appears, he says hello, you must answer the questions, asks us what is 2 plus 4. Now we know that 2 plus 4 is 6, but for this case, let's say it's 5. Let's give it the incorrect answer. So we click OK, and he says, I'm sorry, that isn't correct. And then because we haven't fully finished this programming, he says you won, which we probably shouldn't say. But we won't worry about that now because we're still going. And then we're going to run it one more time, and we'll actually answer the correct answer and see that he says the correct response. So he asks us, what is 11 plus 3? Now 11 plus 3 is 14. So we enter that, we click OK, and he says, good job, you got it right, and you've won. So we actually see that we did it correct. So if you need to do any sort of math, you can do that using this procedure. And another thing is, when you do this, you don't necessarily have to have it just be addition, because right here is the main thing, and under math, we could have actually had it be addition, subtraction, multiplication, and you can probably figure out ways to do division, absolute value, or min or max. So there's actually a lot of different types of math that you could do and check right here. So that's kind of how you do addition using random numbers and checking your work with if-else statements. Remember, whenever you want to check that something is actually what the user answered, you're going to use an if-else statement. It's what we do when we're doing keyboard control, and I've shown that in other videos, and it's what we do in just answering whether a question's correct or not. So thanks for watching. Next time we're going to do math with for and while loops, which are a way to duplicate what we just did here, but instead of writing hundreds and hundreds of lines of code, we're just going to be adding maybe 5 or 10 more lines of code and be able to do this same thing 10 or 20 or however many times we want it. So thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned.